by foot all over India. His modus operandi was he would go on foot from village to village, town to town. He would go to people's homes, he would knock on the door, he would invite himself in. And the culture was people were very hospitable and respectful at that time, especially to holy people. And he would do kirtan with them. And he would go to the town center and he would beat his drum, mridanga, and he would invite people to do kirtan. And his main message, his main central message was when people come together and do kirtan or glorify God, they'll feel happy. It will actually bring them happiness, it will bring them spiritual benefit, it will also take care of their material needs. So this was his main central message. By glorifying God, everything else is provided. Whatever we need, psychological, emotional, material, spiritual, all our needs are satisfied by glorifying God. And especially he gave this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, which originally appears in Atharva Veda. It's one of the Vedic mantras. And then it is found in Kali Santarana Upanishad, one of the main Upanishads, where these 16 words are specifically recommended to chant in this age. Like there is a prescription for every disease. In this particular time and age we live in, which is called as Kali Yuga, this mantra has the highest redeeming effect on the soul. We'll read from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So this is chapter 1, actually canto 1, meaning Adi Leela. It is divided into 3 parts. 9th chapter, text 41. One who has taken his birth as a human being in the land of India should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all other people. There's a purport? Yeah, okay. Okay. Please go ahead. You can put it all the way up. Okay, please. Can anybody read this? Can anybody please read this?
The magnanimity of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressed in this very important verse. Although he was born in Bengal and Bengalis therefore have a special duty towards him, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is addressing not only Bengalis but all the inhabitants of India. It is the land of India that actual human civilization can be built.
Just one second. Alankar, this is Adi Leela 9th chapter. Okay, go to 4.2. Text 42. Good. Okay. I'm sorry, I wanted to talk about this verse. My apology. It is the duty of every living being to perform welfare activities for the benefit of others with his life, wealth, intelligence, and words. Purport. Shradhika, can you read this?
There are 2 kinds of general activities, shreyas or activities which are ultimately beneficial and auspicious, and prayas or those which are immediately beneficial and auspicious. For example, children are fond of playing. They do not want to go to school to receive an education, and they think that to play all day and night and enjoy with their friends is the aim of life. Even in the transcendental life of Lord Krishna, we find that when he was a child, he was very fond of playing with his friends of the same age, the cowherd boys. He would not even go home to take his dinner. Mother Yashoda would have to come out to induce him to come home. Thus, it is a child's nature to engage all day and night in playing, not caring even for his health and other important concerns. This is an example of prayas or immediately beneficial activities. But there are also shreyas or activities which are ultimately auspicious. According to Vedic civilization, a human being must be God conscious. He should understand what God is, what this material world is, who he is, and what their interrelationships are. This is called Shreyas, or ultimately auspicious end. In this verse of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is said that one should be interested in Shreyas. To achieve the ultimate goal of Shreyas, or good fortune, one should engage everything, including his life, wealth, and words, not only for himself, but for others also. However, unless one is interested in Shreyas in his own life, he cannot preach of Shreyas for the benefit of others. This verse cited by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu applies to human beings, not to animals, as indicated in the previous verse by the words Manushya Janma. These injunctions are for human beings. Unfortunately, human beings, although they have the bodies of men, are becoming less than animals in their behavior. This is the fault of modern education. Modern educators do not know the aim of human life. They are simply concerned with how to develop the economic condition of their countries or the human society. This is also necessary. The Vedic civilization considers all aspects of human life, including dharma, religion, artha, economic development, kama, sense gratification, and moksha, liberation. But humanity's first concern should be religion. To be religious, one must abide by the orders of God. But unfortunately, people in this age have rejected religion and they are busy in economic development. Therefore, they will adopt any means to get money. For economic development, one does not need to get money by hook or by crook. One needs only sufficient money to maintain his body and soul. However, because modern economic development is going on with no religious background, people have become lusty, greedy, and mad after money. They are simply developing the qualities of rajas, passion, and tamas, ignorance, neglecting the other quality of nature, sattva, goodness, and the brahmanical qualifications. Therefore, the entire society is in chaos. The Bhagavatam says that it is the duty of an advanced human being to act in such a way as to facilitate human society's attainment of the ultimate goal of life. There is similar verse in Vishnu Puran, part 3, chapter 12, verse 45, which is the next verse.
Okay. So when we talk about welfare work or benefit to others, no, it's okay. It's too much. Yeah, this is good. We can think in three terms. A human being is a combination of his body, physical needs, his mind, mental, psychological, emotional needs, and ultimately his spirit, his spiritual needs. So naturally, when we think of welfare to somebody, we will think of Prabhu Shani. When we think of welfare to somebody, we will think naturally in terms of body, in terms of mind, and in terms of spirit. But generally speaking, people, when they think of welfare to others or doing good to others, they think in terms of body and mind. Hospitals, schools, other systems of welfare or social development, which focuses on the body and the mind. Now, there is a limitation with this approach or with this idea. And what is the limitation? Srila Prabhupada would sometimes illustrate some principles with some very simple stories. Although this story may sound very simple, but sometimes, geniuses mean simplicity, right? Intelligence actually means simplicity. Complexity means too much entanglement. Prabhupada narrated a story. There was one time in a village, one man, he fell in a river and he's dying. And the village people and townspeople, they all got together. And everybody is yelling and shouting, and there's an emergency, serious emergency to save the person who's drowned. And one man who was an expert swimmer showed up. And he jumped in the river. And townspeople and everybody's watching what's going to happen. It's a very strong current. And after jumping in the river, And after great struggle, he comes out and he says, I have saved. And he's very happy, very jubilant, and townspeople are shocked. They're shocked because he came out, the person was wearing a coat and he was wearing a shirt and a pant. So after great struggle, he came back with the coat and the shirt and the pant, and the actual person died. So the coat in the story represents the gross physical body, and the shirt and the pant represents the subtle body. But the actual person died. Another story Prabhupada narrated, and there was an old lady, and one day, to keep her company, she purchased a parrot. And she built an amazing golden cage for the parrot, gold cage. And she would polish the cage and clean the cage and do everything. And about a week later, her family members showed up. And she was very proudly displaying that I have got some company. I have got some association. I'm no longer lonely. And the family members noticed that the parrot inside the cage was dead, and the cage was itself shining 24 karat gold. Srila Prabhupada here explains in this purport the difference between Shreyas and Preyas means immediate benefit. Shreyas means ultimate benefit. And Srila Prabhupada explained one time, he was a pharmacist. He said, a person come to a doctor with a boil, and he was hurting. He was hurting with the boil. And the doctor said, no, I'll give you relief. And the person said, doctor, I don't like knives and I don't like needles and I don't like all of that. He said, no worry. The doctor started blowing on the boil. I mean, it did felt good. It felt good. He said, now you are feeling better. Now you are feeling good. You can go home. One verse from Bhagavad Gita. This is the beginning of Gita, chapter 2, text 1. We'll just read it just a little bit, one paragraph of a purport. This is the beginning of Bhagavatam. The first chapter is mostly an introduction to different in the purport. This is chapter 2, text 1, purport. Arjuna had given many reasons not to fight the war. In fact, his concern was society, community welfare, the well-being of his family. And ultimately, Krishna wanted Arjuna to fight. Violence is sometimes necessary. Often it is necessary, part of society. Purport. Material compassion, lamentation, and tears are all signs of ignorance of the real self. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. The word Madhusudan is significant in this verse. Lord Krishna killed the demon Madhu, and now Arjuna wanted Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that had overtaken him in the discharge of his duty. No one knows where compassion should be applied. Compassion for the dress of a drowning man is senseless. Similarly, a man fallen in the ocean of nescience cannot be saved simply by rescuing his outward dress, his material body. One who does not know this and laments for the outward dress is called a Shudra, or one who laments unnecessarily. Arjuna was a Kshatriya, and this conduct was not expected from him. Lord Krishna, however, can dissipate the lamentation of the ignorant man, and for this purpose, the Bhagavad Gita was sung by him. So the purpose of Bhagavad Gita is actually to bring people to a platform of knowledge. What is that real knowledge? That I, a human being, is a soul. And to see that within ourselves and to see that within others, whoever we meet, is real knowledge, real jnana. This chapter instructs us in self-realization by an analytical study of the body and the soul as explained by the Supreme Authority, Lord Krishna. This realization, Prabhupada explains how one develops this jnana, is possible when one works without attachment to fruitive results, Nishkam Karma Yoga, and also simultaneously is situated in the fixed conception of the real self and to act on a self platform. Ultimately, the human body is temporary. Yes. And we all have to die. Yes. Imagine in 100 years, everybody here will die. Nobody will be alive. Anybody on this planet. This is a thought which is very sobering to understand. So, now let us look from a deeper. The first principle is difference between the gross body, subtle body, and soul. First principle. Second principle, to understand this human life is a rare gift. There are 100 trillion bacteria in my stomach. There are, in 1 square feet of soil, there are trillions of microorganisms in living. That is also life. So the life is there, the bodies are changing, but the soul is eternal and important. You get this, the sobering idea. That's one idea. The second idea is, let's take a look at, on a very deeper level, the cause of human suffering and human entanglement. Whenever devotees or people in general would go to Srila Prabhupada and he would say, what are you doing? Srila Prabhupada's program was chanting Hare Krishna, Harinam Sankirtan, Prasadam distribution of Bhagavad Gita, distribution of Bhagavatam, giving people spiritual knowledge. So people would go, what are you doing for the suffering humanity? And Srila Prabhupada would immediately ask, what is real suffering? Real suffering means to take birth, to become old, to get disease, and to die. And this circle of transmigration of the soul repeats again and again. Our body is compared to a cloth. Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani granati naroparani tatha vihaya sharirani jirnani. Alankar, you're right. We are all getting old. I'm not the only one who's getting old. So, everybody is getting, you are also getting old. So everybody is getting old and we are moving towards death. Navani granati naroparani. So Srila Prabhupada would immediately counter that the real suffering is this. And Srila Prabhupada would say, I am giving people knowledge. I am giving people real knowledge. What is real knowledge? To surrender to God. To live your life in such a way that you become godly. When you become godly, when you become God conscious, then automatically many of your material needs, so to speak, are minimized. And you can live a life in a simple way. For example, just simple example. We do a lot of cancer research. I'm a doctor. But at the same time, society promotes tobacco or alcohol or drugs or things which are put in the soil which causes cancer. But we are also opening hospitals and doing research. Think about this. Is this real compassion? You will be surprised to know there are so many beautiful universities in America, all over the world now. And millions of dollars go into research. But ultimately, if you really look at it, where does that research ends up at? In making weapons and missiles, and to kill wholesale. Before we were killing, now we are also killing. So this is and Prabhupada talks about economic development which is unchecked and which does not tempers with God consciousness. This is the end result of that. So Prabhupada said, I'm giving people real knowledge of how to surrender to Krishna, how to live one's life. He also made a very important point. He said this idea that a man can help another man on a philosophical level is not correct. Shastra says, Eko bahunam yovidadati kaman. It is God who actually maintains every jiva. This is actually a symptom of false pride and ignorance. I have done this, I have done that, I can feed some people. Prabhupada would say millions of Gandhis came, millions of Hitlers came. They all wanted to do good. Millions of Napoleons came, millions of other people came. Where are they? And what good did they accomplish? People study history, but I can teach history in one line. History means to learn who killed who, with how much vigor and how many people. To study history, you can study American history, world history, universe history, I don't know, there are multiple universes. You study. In Bhagavatam, there is history of planets and universes. To study history means who was the next murderer and with how many people he killed and with how much vigor. So first principle, philosophical principle, Eko bahunam yovidadati kama. It is God who maintains. Number two, very important spiritual principle, Om Purnam Madha Purnam Midam Purnameva Vashishyate Purnasya Purnam Adaya Purnam Eva Vishishyate. Meaning, by God's arrangement, everything in this material world is complete. For the complete manifestation of every living entity, Prabhupada said, thousands of elephants are also eating. This whole overpopulation, this is all a myth. Everything is there for the complete sustenance, maintenance, and happiness of every living entity. But there are two problems. One is that jivas commit sinful activities. Jiva commits sinful activity, so their supply is checked. Because of sinful activities, people's supply is checked. And secondly, because of sinful activity, the devatas are displeased and they cause famine and floods and hurricanes. And thirdly, there is mismanagement and corruption on the part of the leaders. A well-organized, let's say a corrupt-free state, Prabhupada said, no jiva actually has to work except to grow their own food. Nobody has to work, and there will be no shortage, no scarcity of healthcare or food or whatever social benefit you can imagine. So the shortage and scarcity, Prabhupada explained, was because of sinful activities, number one, not following the principles of God consciousness, number two, and number three, because of corruption, which is rampant in every single leader due to lack of Krishna consciousness. So Prabhupada explained that if you want to make a solution, even from a material platform, if one wants to make a solution to the suffering, then what is required, what is scarce and what is in shortage is real God consciousness. If leaders become God conscious, there will be no shortage or scarcity for anybody, for anything, even on a very material platform. So these two principles, Srila Prabhupada explained that this can provide all material and spiritual benefit. Why is there suffering? Why there is scarcity? Why there is shortage of anything in one's individual life or collective life? Second principle. Third principle is how does Srila Prabhupada benefited the world? Through real spiritual, social, humanitarian, and welfare work. Because of Srila Prabhupada's efforts today, millions of copies of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam are distributed throughout the world. People are reading Gita and they're reading Bhagavatam, and their lives are transformed. There can be so many external problems. Genuine Krishna consciousness solves a lot of problems, but not everything can be solved. But Krishna consciousness gives you an armor. It gives you strength. It gives you knowledge. It gives you attitude. Anything can be taken away, but whatever is in your heart cannot be taken away. Srila Prabhupada statement. One is sure to obtain the association of Krishna in next life if one only reads two books, Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Just two books, Srila Prabhupada said, one will see Krishna face to face. Srila Prabhupada explained that the best welfare work is to distribute the spiritual knowledge. I would like to quote a very beautiful exchange. One important, like number one lawyer of India came to meet Srila Prabhupada. And this is a book called Mood and Mission of Prabhupada, written by His Holiness Bhakti Vikas Maharaj. It's a trilogy. The entire mood and mission, it encapsulates everything Prabhupada did and he stood for. And there is a copy here, and I would encourage you to get it. You can get it on Amazon as well. Just a little exchange. The next day, a member of parliament, Ram Jethmalani, came to visit Prabhupada. Prabhupada stressed against the importance of Krishna consciousness, and Mr. Jethmalani was favorably impressed. Mr. Jethmalani raised the question whether there was any social welfare work to be done by Krishna consciousness, and Srila Prabhupada told him that this was the business of cats and dogs. Our purpose is to end the material life. This is the only purpose of human life. The only purpose of human life is to end the human life, meaning end the repetition. Not simply barking social welfare and get nothing done. Mr. Jethmalani, the most eminent lawyer of India, was highly impressed. He promised to give all help to Prabhupada's movement. An excerpt from that exchange, Ram Jethmalani. How is it that Gita does not emphasize public service? There is no emphasis on public social service. Srila Prabhupada, there is no need. This is animal conception of life. The dogs also combine together and serve one another. What is the use of serving? What can you do? What service have you done? You cannot do anything beyond the laws of nature. Another very important point, which is a very deeper philosophical point. There is individual karma and laws of nature. In one thing, in 1 second, this entire planet can also be finished. This life which we hold very dear can be finished. Boom, khatam. In one day, everything is finished. The law of nature is strict and they work according to Krishna. Then Prabhupada quotes, Maya Dakshina Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. You cannot do anything. Prabhupada is telling Ram Jethmalani. You are falsely proud that you want to do. It is not possible. Number one is welfare work I was explaining, is distribution of spiritual literature. If people get connected to Krishna, in whatever way they can take it, they will benefit eternally. Not just their body, not just their mind, but their spirit and their consciousness and who they are. Number two, this idea of food distribution was very prominent and was, people are hungry. You cannot speak Gita to a hungry man, right? Some of you are thinking like that. Srila Prabhupada told his disciples, chapter 3 of Bhagavad Gita. He said, Yagya means sacrifice, Shishta sino santa, Muchyante sarva kilbishaha, Bhunjate te tu agham papa, ye pachanti atma karanat. What does it mean? It means that if we please Krishna through the act of cooking, we all cook, we all eat, and welfare means to cook and help others and serve others, hungry people. Yes, very good. Srila Prabhupada said, we should cook to please Krishna and then distribute that prasadam to everybody. Anybody who comes, we should give them prasad, free of cost. And he also encouraged devotees to distribute. There was a Bangladesh war was going on. Devotees distributed millions of plates of prasad. Prabhupada explained, yagya, by performing this yagya of prasadam distribution, santa, it's a saintly activity. Muchyante sarva kilbishaha, all of the problems of the society can be solved just by this one activity of serving Krishna prasadam to everybody. But Srila Prabhupada explained that the main principle is to please Krishna. Meaning, Srila Prabhupada said, we are not just vegetarian food distributors, but we are Krishnatarian distributors. And what is prasad? You may wonder. Anybody sincerely tries to please Krishna, love Krishna, make something for him, Krishna, please accept him. Even if he doesn't know Sanskrit or the mantras or the prayers, Krishna, please accept it. Krishna will accept it. And Krishna will benedict the whole society through that effort. Our new temple, we are making 3 kitchens. Why? Our goal is to distribute prasadam. Muchyante sarva kilbishaha. Just by taking prasadam, all of the social problems can be solved. It also solves hunger. And by taking prasadam, people's not only hunger, but other problems also will be solved, Srila Prabhupada explained. But Srila Prabhupada explained that when we give prasadam, we can also do kirtan. We should do kirtan. We should distribute some literature. In Africa, we distribute prasadam. And we don't have money for books, and people cannot buy books. So we print 1-page pamphlet, like just 1 page, pamphlet. So sometimes we get a $500 donation. We print 50,000 pamphlet. And we go out, we distribute simple prasadam, rice and stew, and we give pamphlets, and we do kirtan. Another very important instructive incident happened. Prabhupada was in Hyderabad. He was in Hyderabad and a famine broke out. So the political party and the government officers requested Srila Prabhupada, and that entire excerpt and exchange of letters is documented here. And he said, Swamiji, you are attracting so many followers. Please help us raise money to solve this famine. And Srila Prabhupada explained that yes, that is possible, but why there is famine? Why there is shortfall? What is your responsibility? Srila Prabhupada explained, our devotees will do kirtan in entire Hyderabad, and government should give us all facility to perform Harinam Sankirtan, or in glorification of the holy name, through all the streets. Srila Prabhupada said, the entire famine problem will be solved. There will be enough rain and there will be enough food for everybody. Srila Prabhupada again quoted, Yagya Parijanyo Sambhavati. What does it mean? By sacrifice, by performing Shreyas, the word is Shreyas, or by performing sacrifice, one gets the blessings of God, or one gets rain, one gets food, like that. And this is explained in Bhagavad Gita, 3rd chapter. Another point is that generally we think that we need to fix, I explained body, mind, and spirit. Srila Prabhupada also explains that if one improves spiritually, his material life will also improve, his consciousness will also improve, and his mind will also improve. For example, you have probably seen the psychiatric drug overdose in this country. And of course, in certain cases, drugs are required, certain cases. But in most cases, if people live a healthy lifestyle in sattva guna, the modes of material nature, and practice daily meditation and engage in kirtan, they will feel happy. Srila Prabhupada explained, okay, let's just say I solve your food problem. Here in this room, nobody has a food problem. Nobody is having a heart attack right now, at least. Is everybody happy? Let's just say we solve the basic problems of food, clothing, and shelter. Does that mean, is a human being only a conglomeration or a sucker for food, clothing, and shelter? Do you not need anything else? Srila Prabhupada explains that a fish can never be happy outside water. In Ohio State University, this is where I trained. Every year, few doctors will commit suicide. You can look up. Everybody who's doing fentanyl, it is not that they don't have money to eat. If they have money to buy fentanyl, that means they have money to buy food also. So Srila Prabhupada explains a fish can never be happy outside water. So you want to give bodily happiness, mental happiness, emotional happiness. Okay, you first try to solve the root cause of the problem. The root problem is, if they do kirtan morning and evening at their home, 99% of the problem will be solved. I'll give one example from my life. I was working at Grant Hospital. This is about 10 years ago. Very nice hospital. A lady came. She was 41. She was Indian. She was a researcher, breast cancer researcher at Johns Hopkins University. At the age of 31, she was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. She was a breast cancer researcher. Top-notch pedigree. Everything she had. And for 10 years, she did everything. Every single surgery, every single chemotherapy, every experimental chemotherapy, Ayurveda, everything. Somehow, the luck would have it, her husband got a job in Columbus. And they moved to Columbus to be with her family, obviously. And now she's admitted to Grant Hospital. I went in, I saw the name, I can recognize, okay, Indian name, all right. And I saw the history, the chart. I walked in, I said, she was dying. There were tubes coming out from both her chest. There was a big fungating, ulcerative, foul-smelling mass on her clavicle, on her chest. She was skin and bones, looked like a Holocaust victim, end-stage cancer. She's been dealing with it for 10 years. Chemotherapy had ravaged her body. I walked in there, I said, what is your goal of care? She told me in John Hopkins, they're working on an experimental drug and she will get cured. So generally, physicians don't tell the truth. I want to let you know that. So I said, okay. So I said, is it okay if I read Bhagavad Gita to you? Now, I usually don't do that, okay, because I'll get fired. But in this situation, I took a deep breath and I just thought there was nothing to lose. And generally in these situations, people are open and receptive. And I'm like, if they fire me, that's okay. I'm going to read Bhagavad Gita. I asked her. She said, I'm not sure. Okay. Next day I went in there. There was nothing to do medically except giving her false hope and to lie to her. I said, what do you think? She said, okay. She said her grandfather used to read Gita and he was a happy man, so why not? I said, okay. So we read Gita, one chapter every day. And then I pushed the envelope a little bit. I would take flower garlands, holy dust, Radhakund water, Vrindavan water. We started doing some kirtan. Whole thing would last about 15 minutes. And then it was over. After 1 week, my service was done. I was off service. I had a holiday. So 2 days later, I met her husband. I went to the hospital for something else and I met her husband. And I asked her, how's she doing? And he told me that the day I left, my shift ended at 6 p.m. At 8 p.m., she called hospice or nurses who provide end-stage life care. And she went home. We had Srila Prabhupada doing japa, and in 1 hour, she passed away. Srila Prabhupada himself said, I don't need to go to any hospital or doctor. I have seen in my life devotees. It is one thing to theoretically know I am not this body, but it is another thing to have some realization that I am not this body. My father is Krishna. He's a billionaire. And the spiritual world is waiting for me. That is quite another thing to know. People will come to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada, there is shortage. Srila Prabhupada would respond, there is no shortage. Your father is Krishna. He's a billionaire. The whole world belongs to him. The only shortage is that there is no Krishna consciousness. All lack, all shortage, all scarcity is that you don't know that there is God, who's your father. And he's supplying all the needs. Eko bahunam vidadhati kama. I have seen devotees in their 40s and 50s, they don't go to doctor. They said it's enough. Jayananda Prabhu was a disciple of Prabhupada, diagnosed with leukemia. He said, I don't want to waste Krishna's money. We are not as advanced. I understand. I'm a physician. I will go to a doctor if I'm sick. I'll get a surgery if I need to. But the main point we have to understand that real God consciousness minimizes one's material desires, material needs. Krishna consciousness also provide and build beautiful architecture in form of temples. That is also social service and welfare service. Through those temples, millions of people get knowledge. And the difference between any temple which Srila Prabhupada started and others is that the main focus of the temple is giving people knowledge and giving people prasadam. Those, and of course, the holy name of Krishna. Many times people would come. Srila Prabhupada, we would start a medical dispensary. And Srila Prabhupada said that others are doing. Now this also has to be understood. Somebody may criticize, okay, you are not doing a medical dispensary, you're not doing a blood drive. Let's say Alia goes to a pizza place and she gives them an Indian menu. This is what I want. This is insanity. If you go to a pizza place, you're supposed to order pizza or salad or pasta or something Italian at least on the menu. You cannot order Indian food. So similarly, when we come to a temple, we should come with this idea, I'm here for purification, for knowledge, and for service. Not everybody can do. Even the best companies, a Boeing makes plane. They don't make kartal. Even the best company in the world has a product. Srila Prabhupada's product is to give people knowledge. Of course, spiritual work, social work, welfare work is there. It is automatically included. It is a byproduct, you can say. Okay, so I gave some ideas here. We'll stop here. We have a few minutes. Let's see if this discussion prompts any questions. Otherwise, we can move on to Kirtan. So the conclusion, Krishna consciousness, as Srila Prabhupada explained, is itself, in and of itself, by the act of pleasing Krishna, by act of distributing prasadam, by act of giving holy name to others, by act of distributing these two books, Gita and Bhagavatam, is in itself the highest social and welfare work. It also encompasses bodily, mental, and psychological needs. Everybody knows that meditation nowadays is a recipe for happiness. Chanting, mantra meditation, kirtan brings happiness. Also, through the practice of vegetarianism, it benefits animals. Through practices of sustainability, it benefits the environment. They put Roundup on the soil. Just by putting Roundup in one lawn, you are killing trillions and trillions and trillions of jiva. Just in one lawn. Trillions of life eradicated. Krishna consciousness is ultimately a holistic program for welfare of the whole society, and even animals and insects and plants and microorganisms benefit from it. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for such an enlightening session. You started off with the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita, you started off the lecture book, and you did actually mention about the compassion of the soul. So, question comes here that what force or what is that compels the jivas to come into this material world, and at what point of time the independence of the soul be realized and be executed?
What compels a jiva to come somewhere? Ultimately, it is desire which writes the story. I'll give you one broad spiritual life. When we chant Hare Krishna or when we do devotional service, we are eradicating lifetimes of karma. I was explaining that suffering comes from karma. Karma cannot be changed except for God's holy name. When we chant, we nullify our karma. However, one has to be careful what desire one is cultivating. If with chanting, with practicing bhakti yoga, with practicing Krishna consciousness, at the same time one continues to cultivate desires which pertains to matter. Body has to be satisfied. A car, let's say you are a driver in a car, you have to give petrol to the car. But are you going to drink petrol? Petrol has to be given to the car. What are you going to do? Chant Hare Krishna. So, petrol is for the car, you should do chant Hare Krishna. But, Bharat Prabhu, everything depends upon one's desire. And if one cultivates those desires which are antithetical, then one has to follow one's own desires. Desire is important.
I have a subsequent question. You said that Harinam destroys all the papas that we have done, karmas. You've been chanting for, I've seen so many devotees been chanting for so many years. Probably some may have started chanting now. Why all the papas that we have done so many lives not been destroyed? Why don't they feel like this?
They are in fact destroyed. The question was that there are some people who've been chanting for a long time. People practice bhakti yoga for a long time. Why is it that all of the karma is not being destroyed? Yes, Bharat Prabhu. So let's say, Bharat Prabhu, that somebody has been in this material world for millions and billions of years. And let's say, by association of devotees, his incarceration in this material world is compressed to, let's just say, one lifetime or 2 or 3 lifetimes. That's about 200 years. Is it beneficial or not? It is because from time immemorial, a jiva has been associated with matter. Despite theoretically understanding the philosophy, it is difficult to unshackle all of the bonds of our desires. That is why. But it can happen. Now, our Acharya said, Srila Prabhupada said, he was asked this question, will all your disciples go back home, back to Godhead? And he said, most will go to heaven. They will not go back home, back to Godhead. Because in Bhagavad Gita it's explained, those who die in mode of goodness elevate themselves. Those who live in passion live on the earthly realms. And those who live in ignorance go down. There are different grades of existence. In Columbus, not every home is the same, not every street is the same, not every zip code is the same. Yeah. So it can be a process. It can take some lifetimes also. But in general, Bhagavad Gita says that one takes a spiritual credit with him. There is no loss or diminution on this path, and one takes one spiritual credit with him. Another way to look at it, Bharat Prabhu, this is how I look at it. Why wait for a post-dated check? The real question is, what I am doing, is it making me happy? Let's forget the zazz. If it's making me happy, if it's aligned with Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, then I should do it. You see, purification may take whatever time it takes.
So I was just saying that there are different levels of devotional service. Devotional service done in the mode of goodness, like in the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam, Kapila Dev describes this all. So it's not that pure devotional service can give you immediate relief and free you from all, but pure devotional service is also very rare. So we generally do mixed devotional service also. But Namabhas chanting has the power to deliver even all the sins, like Ajamil, for instance, he got freed from all sins. But if you do Shuddha Nam, then you can come to the platform of Prema Bhakti. So we are not at that level of Shuddha Nam, so we are doing devotional service, but it is a mixed bag, right? Because it's infused with the modes of material nature and so many things. So that's why also it is not acting the way it should act, because it's not pure yet.
Prabhu, you mentioned in your talk that when the leaders are not godly, that's when all these problems also happen in the society, and when they become godly, all the problems are also at least get better or less. But then we see in today's day and age, it appears that the leaders, all these presidents or whatnot, so they seem godly. They take vow on Bible or Gita, and they go to their worship places and whatnot. So is it like it's just a show, or like their level of godliness is not really, it doesn't have any value?
The leaders take oath on Gita or Quran or Bible. Srila Prabhupada explains this is something to be understood very deeply. It is not a judgment on anybody, but it has to be understood deeply. The real, what we call as genuine God consciousness, begins with certain principles. First of all, no himsa or violence towards any jiva. Imagine that. The number of the hell we have created on this planet for animals, it will us. We will fight wars. There will be genocides, there will be wars. This is not God consciousness, number one. This is just the first principle. And I am talking very entry level God consciousness. This is not even the depths which Prince Hindu is mentioning from the Bhagavatam. First principle, spiritual principle, a leader, a proper Kshatriya should put a full stop on any unnecessary violence. Unnecessary violence. And create a culture and society where every jiva, including trees, plants, shrubs, microorganisms are well taken care of. There are only 8 billion jivas. I was explaining to you, there are trillions and trillions of jiva. They're all being killed. Trillions of animals, trillions of people are being killed. So that is not God conscious, number one. Number two, no intoxication. A godly society will not have intoxication. Number three, no gambling or speculative economic enterprise, which is your entire economy. I was listening to this news. One state was in deficit. So the governor came up with a brilliant idea, open more casinos. Now he can take an oath on Bible or Gita or Quran. It means nothing. It means nothing. Generally, their economic solution, raise taxes on cigarette, open casinos, more sinful activity. And I'll tell you, Alankar, one more thing you need to understand. On this planet, 50% of all wealth of this planet goes in manufacturing weapons. And those who manufacture weapons, they control the entire planet. Not governments, not politicians, not businessmen. Their only aim is to sell more weapons. To sell more weapons, you have to have more war. And war cannot end, it has to go on in perpetuity. This is the sum and substance of entire politics, social, and economic scenario of this planet. This is 108% truth. And the leaders are puppets. Because Prabhupada explains here, if you read this purport about economic development, so it's economic development for few people and to create hell and pandemonium for everybody else. Religion is a tool, ethnicity is a tool, everything is a tool to sell more weapons. Okay, so first principle is unnecessary violence has to be checked. Second principle is no gambling and no speculative economic enterprise. Basically everything, there is a certain economic principles. Number three, the whole idea of intoxication. And lastly, which is really the litmus test for somebody who's God conscious and who's still attached to matter, is no illicit sex, which is sex not meant for procreation. Sex life which is not meant for procreation is, according to the scriptures, please do not judge me or take me wrong. And I'm not going to take a checklist and check your bedroom activity. Nobody is going to do that in ISKCON. Please don't stop coming here. But I have to say this, that sexual activity which is not for procreation is inherently, it does not promote God consciousness. And now this is just entry level God consciousness. Without this, a person is not godly. He will have his judgment, and no matter what position or title they have, it doesn't matter. We should do. Sorry for leaving such a sad note. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Devotees, thank you. All goes to Prabhupada. Let's have kirtan.